Hello everyone and welcome back to Let's Play Hearts of Iron 4 Last Days of Europe with me, Alpha Omega, and Greater Germanic Reich. So we have left off last time with two major events, but I think, Republic of Sudan has finished its conflict and we are like one step away from finishing the conflict against Saudi Arabia, so that's gonna be fun. Our economy is still in the trash though, so that's an issue that we'll have to figure out very soon. Anyway, fight terror with terror and what to do. Okay, fight terror with terror is above it, so let's start with that one. Speer attempted to eat his lunch and failed. Where normally he would take an hour to polish off his meal and idly sketch a few designs that would likely never be constructed onto a napkin, today's stream of news was too fast and he felt slightly sick. Pushing away the plate in revulsion, he resumed listening to the constant briefing that was coming from Kaisinger's mouth. 4 such attacks on local party headquarters have occurred in the last 24 hours, though only one was successful. The other were driven off either by security or party members forming into local militia, who have engaged in violent bouts with the rioters. Multiple fatalities have been reported from both sides. Regretfully, the Gau and Franken was not so lucky. Before the Orpo performed a counter-assault upon the building, the rioters succeeded in dragging him out, mutilating him, and Kaisinger's lip curled in distaste, hanging him from a lamppost. He will require a closed casket funeral. Albert slammed his fist against the desk and barked a brief yell of impotent rage. Kaisinger did his best to hide his startled jump. Is there nothing that can be done about these savages? The best response we have is some grey-haired veteran who haven't been in combat since the West Russian War, beating up communists in the streets like it's 1920 while we squabble backstage trying to fix things? It is a regrettable state of affairs, my Führer, Speer snorted at Kaisinger's unnecessary diplomacy. The Orpo have naturally taken a more hands-off approach to these militia, since they seem to be doing their jobs for them, which they in turn have taken as license to perform their own retaliatory attacks. There have been several firebombings and even reported lynchings in the more volatile. And I suppose the Orpo have no intention of investigating these events? To be brutally honest, Albert, I doubt they would do so if you marched down and ordered them to yourself. We've tried nothing and we're all out of ideas. So regime stability decreases by 5, monthly security policy effectiveness drops, we lose a bit of population, 20 people, and infrastructure receives 1 level of damage in Köln, Sachsen and Westfalen Süd. Okay, so we actually have a solid production line going. Okay, let's keep our military factories churning up. What to do? Nobody in the gathering room wanted to be there, not Erhard staring in the mirror at his own mistakes, not Kaisinger expecting another massive headache with how angry the hardliners must have felt, not Traskow, who had half a mind to stick his foot through the door in retaliation against political dissidents in the Wehrmacht starting up again, not Schmidt, who felt his role as Minister of Foreign Affairs now reduced as a joke while the world scrambled in fear around him, and not least the visionary architect Speer, the bedrock of his operation, as Führer now shaky. The 5 men found themselves with stiff air and even stiffer words, as they all stared at each other. It was Kaisinger who broke the silent unease. The main issue we should remain concerned about is Germany and the Einheitspact. Everything else is secondary. A decline in influence worldwide, Erhard grumbled, rubbing his forehead. If it makes you feel any better, Herr Erhard, Traskow began, giving a neutral, not very passionate look towards the Minister of the Economy. This affects both the United States and Japan. I've been told by the R&D that Japan will be hit especially hard by this, so we shouldn't suffer so much as they will. Oh, but we'll suffer all right. Schmidt hunched over a number of papers that were handed to him by Erhard. detailing how things were practically rapidly going downhill domestically, let alone with Germany's codependence. "This is a mess," he muttered. "No, Herr Schmidt, I don't think so," Speer spoke, averting Schmidt to his presence, who gazed at him with curiosity and the constant aura of subtle irritation. "We need only do one thing at a time like this. Start brainstorming, men. We have the right to save. So much to do. So at the time." So that one came from Was sein muss. Okay, and muss sein we need... Okay, we have to get an event and make some kind of decision. So we'll see what that one is going to bring. What can we do? Send weapons to Yemen Arab Democrat. I don't think we have to do that. We've pretty much already won this. So you are taking Medina. You're gonna lock them in here. I'm gonna keep pushing from the north. I think Medina is gonna push them over the limit. I thought that they were like 90% towards capitulation. Yeah, 98% in favor of our units. So I think that taking Medina is going to be the last straw. Why are you not going here? That's... Ohio would be much better. Okay, now you can attack and start pushing from the north. Oh god, so many events. So much to do, so little time. In a single room, 5 men spent hours debating 1,000 years. Two sides stood opposed to one another as they all had convened to two topics. The economy and the repatriation of the slaves. Speer and Erhard did not mince their words, nor did they try to hide the fact that Germany's economy was beginning to suffocate rapidly at the hands of the crisis. Though Erhard bit his tongue and hid his regrets as he had discussed measures of austerity and, most importantly, the temporary ceasing of repatriation. While Traskow stood divided, Kaisinger and Schmidt made their stance clear. "You would cause a revolt by doing that." Schmidt shot a glare towards Erhard, who only looked at him with musing of disappointment in his eyes. "And we would cause a revolt with our citizens if our economy crashed because we prioritized slaves over our own." Schmidt felt himself stop when he heard Speer speak those words and struggled to muster a retort. "At the very least, I suggest we don't lock the budget down. We cannot let the economy stall by halting our actions. I would offer increasing expenditures. A bigger deficit means nothing if it lets us avoid negative growth," Kaisinger said. Speer eyed the Minister of Economics with a renewed interest. For the first time in a long time, the aura of close cooperation between the gang began to crack. Erhard spoke. "Perhaps we can keep the economy open for now, but when it comes to repatriation..." When the cigar hit the ashtray, the sizzle felt like the loudest thing in the world. "Not all men can be as idealistic as you, Schmidt." A bittersweet victory. The good old days. Alfred Dreger shook his head and tossed the newspapers to his desk, leaning back in his chair. Violence and more violence, government incompetence creating leftist stagnation, student communists and Reichsbanner plants attacking party headquarters. Student communists and Reichsbanner plants. That's like a Reichsbanner plant. Is that a pejorative? Attacking party headquarters and being met by equally volatile Hitlerjugend and off-duty soldiers let off the leash by their limp-wristed officers. Terror and counter-terror both causing equal destruction. This wouldn't have happened in his day. Agitators left and right would have been swept up under the Wehrmacht's wing and had some sense forced into their heads. If it had certainly done him good, instilled some discipline into that overeager skull of his. Where was Speidel in all of this, he wondered. Whilst the OKV had its fair share of dyed-in-the-wool Nazis, he'd always maintained a more pragmatic view of things. Him and his boys could sweep out Speer and his gang of squabbling reformists, lay a clean slate for some actual change. A firm hand was what they needed, just not one that wore a swastika armband. For all he knew, this unrest would be what finally brought this house of cards assembled by lunatics finally tumbling down. He just hoped that this nascent revolution would not turn out to be 180 degrees 1, or indeed a 360. It's time Germany saw an unhooked cross. Huh. Okay, still can only send stuff to those guys. Okay. Medina, yep. Medina was the last straw. Cool. So the Arabian Republic has been taken. And that means we're done. Our involvement in the conflict is major. We cannot send anyone anything. And the war in Iraq is continuing, but without us. So whatever that's gonna make us do... Oh, okay, reunification, support agent operations, send the regions other Samarkand. Nope. We need to stay peaceful here. I actually wonder if I wanted to create money. We would get a real deficit of 0, but inflation would be 122%. What kind of a madman would do that? Okay, nominal GDP growth is now at 0. Actually, at a decrease. Inflation is at 14%. The expenses. How can we spend 434 million on military? No, actually 434 billion. What the hell is that supposed to be? Look at how our debt to GDP is increasing. Okay, civilian and military austerity is in place, but that's not gonna do us much good. This is just ridiculous. I don't know why. Yemeni victory in Arabia. Fighting in Arabia has come to an end today with the surrender of the last Saudi troops to the Yemeni Democratic Arab Republic. Despite wielding a significant advantage in terms of equipment and resource, the Saudi Royal Army found itself suffering defeat after defeat to Yemeni forces. Yemeni, right? Yemeni forces. From the holy city of Mecca, President Abdullah al-Salah has since declared the formation of the Arabian Republic, a first step towards the formation of a pan-Arab state. Military observers credit the unexpected victory to the many institutional issues within the Saudi military, with the nation's monarch reported having fled overseas, now controlling both the holy cities of Mecca and Medina and the vast oil reserves along the Persian Gulf. Observers have hailed the Yemeni victory as the true beginning of a pan-Arab state. But what about the oil? Well, it's a question. And you are allied with other people but not us. A bittersweet victory. Then what is it at heart? We let even more of the former slaves live in squalor, giving them all the reason they need to hang us with the rope we've sold to them? Do you know what the consequences of this action will be? The biting words were perhaps what Erhard needed to hear, but it did not diminish how painfully they felt, especially coming from a man like Schmidt. "I'm well aware," was his flat reply, "but, and this may be a dangerous assumption to make, they know they'll need Germany in order to fully recover. Without the Sulfur-Ein, the situation in the east would be a catastrophe. We'll just need to push through, no matter the cost." For the second time now, Schmidt found himself uncertain as to what to say. What could he do? An appeal to sympathy meant nothing. It could not alter the reality that, in his broken shamble of a nation, sacrifices had to be made if he ever wanted to drag Germany from its National Socialist history. The colour on his face still drained, however, and he still leaned back. The colour of his face still drained, however, and he still leaned back to grab a hand to his forehead and sigh. At this point, Kaisinger and Traskau both disconnected themselves from the conversation, as neither wanted to rock the boat. The conclusion seemed inevitable. "But you," Schmidt spoke, prompting Speer to raise an eyebrow. "Well, Let the die be cast. We'll see what happens next. With a relieved sigh, Speer looked towards the group, but kept an eye towards Schmidt. Of them all, Schmidt was doubly as invested as the rest of the three combined, so much so that it was as if a piece of him was directly tied to the fate of the slaves, and that it would live and die with them. And he was already the biggest pain in the gang as it stood. When Speer spoke next, Schmidt shot him a glare that seemed almost visceral in its reaction, but subdued to the point where it was as if he tried to hide it. The matter is resolved. The repatriations will be stopped. The repatriation of slaves will be halted indefinitely. Großgermanisches Reich completes focus muss sein. Activate submission, the wheel turns. Okay, hard times call for harder decisions, and it takes hard men to make those decisions. Some might call it callous or cruel, but it takes little to criticize and everything to act. This decision is made not for the Führer or for his minister in the Gang of Four, not for the party or even for the Reich. This is a decision that must ensure the safety of all of Europe, lest the continental system we have worked so hard to maintain come crumbling down. We will hold our heads high when the people throw their insults and incite at this most dire of choices, for we know that in the end it will all be worth it, won't it? Well, okay. And requires muss sein. Okay, so we actually don't choose these ones. These will be also bypassed. Cool. So events is how we're gonna progress from here. But this is really ridiculous. Come on. Can you see what we're spending so much on? Procurement funding. Procurement funding. I have no clue what that means, but it's decimating us. I think that's like the game needs to put the extra cost somewhere. So why not there? Why not there? Okay, so the war in Iraq is still continuing. What about here? Azania Liberation Front. Anyanya. And did you guys finish that fight? No. You are still fighting. I wish I could help you guys. 5 and 6. Are we still screwing with them? Didn't I? My god, didn't I put an automatic repeat? Come on. Crossing the black Rubicon. Well, okay. Let's first look at this one. Increase the German support. Sure. 210, 292. And support agent operation. Yeah, okay, so we're doing right here. And this is the biggest decision. This is the biggest decision. By now, almost everyone felt withdrawn from the conversation at hand. At the very least, the worst was out of the way. They had come to a conclusion on how to stop the worst of Germany's bleeding wounds, even if it resulted in disgruntlement from Schmidt and less so from Kaisinger and Traskow. Now they had moved on to other matters. This time, Erhard took the stand, but against the Führer, not with him. They might not like the fact we've stopped the repatriation, but at the very least, we can try to show that the Einheitspact, or more accurately speaking, the Sulfur-Ein, isn't just there to ravage Eastern Europe and exploit it to its fullest extent. They might not have much of an economy, true, but their sheer collective size and manpower pool is useful for the sake of keeping our numbers afloat. Even though Erhard spoke with confidence, he still felt himself frown and let out a quiet sigh when Speer shook his head. No, Herr Erhard, that's just going back to the circle argument. Germany comes first. Anything else would only lead to outrage and instability in our home territory. And the East is already unhappy. We don't need that anger to spread here too. After all, we are the architects of Europe's future, and every good plan starts with criticism. He could feel Schmidt's burning gaze, even if he couldn't see it in the moment. Instead, we can reach out to the rest of the world and craft a more humane image of Germany. To some extent, I assume it would appease both you and the NSDAP, and it would help kickstart our economy back again. Then again, he had wondered, was that even necessary? It was not as risky as trying to pull the sulfur iron together, true, but it was very possible that wherever they attempted to pull their grasp towards would just deny them, and it would be all for naught. There was always the option of going forward towards the party, which would most certainly launch a massive propaganda campaign, just as they always would. As far as he knew, it worked, and during a time like this, he had already stoked the flames of Germany's non-Aryan allies, so this move would be yet another candle lit up. Still, it did mean working with a more unsavory kind of national socialist. The gang can certainly figure this out. The Führer knows best. It would be foolish. Okay, so we're definitely not gonna go with the party. But this is again something that we want to know. So the Force Vision will lead us to Energiesicherungsgesetz. So we spend a bit of money, increase the stability. Inflation will increase, but economic status improves significantly. The German way, we start improving unemployment, minimum wage and pensions. The Europe's way, pulling on one rope, gives us stability. GDP growth increases, interest rates decreases, budget renegotiation, GDP increases, inflation will decrease by 3.5%. Economic status improves, the People's Forum, government outreach, highly decreased political parties. The Reich is returning to a familiar situation. From the view of the folks, however, one could see people packed in the street almost every day, carrying flags. Though many, if not most, still consider the dream of the democratic Germany dead in the water, the voices of a large part of the countries cannot be denied. To the gang, a populace slowly turning against a nation that is now openly bleeding from their wounds, with a divided government and cliques of power, and a future that could lead to 1,000 different directions. It felt all too familiar. And Volksbund. Changes coming to the Reich. I'm not sure I want to go through this one. That's definitely leading to a democratization. To the people. Inflation increases to the party. Führerlass. Dynasty of the West. A united future. Women Slovakian base stability. So far, members are made to increase their budget contribution. Economic status improves. Social tensions improve. The modern Asclepius. Volkshall. I mean, I know that I'm just sitting here and, pretty much in silence, but I'm trying to figure out what to go with. I don't want to end this playthrough with a complete democratization of Germany. That's not what we have been fighting for this whole time. But on the other hand, this is the only one that makes real sense, I think. Administrative efficiency. Catastrophe has struck the globe, and it comes in many different forms. In the sands of the Middle East, it comes in the form of blood and lead. In the banks and stock exchanges of Germania, Tokyo, Rome, New York, and just about anywhere else, it comes in the form of economic disaster. All prices have skyrocketed as supply disappears, melted away by the fires of war that consume the world's main oil supplier. Such disaster cannot be waved away through propaganda, nor can it simply be ignored by dogmatists. Already the average German citizen feels the pinch as their gas prices skyrocket and the worth of their currency falls. But it cannot be the beginning of the end for the economic reforms that have saved the German economy. It must be handled carefully by visionaries, men who truly know what to do and how to mitigate such a crisis without causing long-term damage. Men like Ludwig Erhard and the Gang of Four, with their gentle guidance and forward vision, Germany will emerge from the rocky period stronger than ever. Führer's will. Führer Speer has triumphed over the misguided Gang of Four and the petty bureaucrats of the party. Their involvement would divide the Reich further, weakening the power of the Führer. Only the Führer's vision can successfully guide his greatest project through the time of crisis. There will be no bickering, no petty arguments over menial things. Speer's plan is the only plan, a perfect balance between the two factions threatening to tear the Reich apart. They won't get a chance under Speer's watch. He'll be watching them like a hawk, monitoring them and always staying one step ahead. This is the Führer's time to shine, and shine he will. This is hard. I am tempted to go with this guy. It isn't ideal. Our nation had barely returned to a sense of normalcy before it was once again plunged into a war that affects us all. Proud of the German nation, we will prevail. I think we're gonna go with the Force Vision and try to hope that it won't force us into a democratization of the Reich. The gang can surely figure it out. We have been going with full-on liberalization, so we just, not gonna go back now on it. Energiesicherungsgesetz, the law for the insurance of energy supply, is the latest creation of the gang and their preferred economist. Rapidly put together to face the growing crisis, it shall be the backbone of our response to the economic collapse that we face today. It's quite ironic that the name is such a mouthful to say, for it will certainly simplify the gang's efforts in recovering and replenishing the German economy. In short, the law will effectively give the gang the power to mandate any means they see as necessary to combat the crisis. Such measures are certainly a great expansion of the gang's power, and will certainly ruffle conservative feathers, but with the combined weight of Geisinger and Speer pushing it through the Volkshalle, we should have no trouble passing it into the books. Soon we can truly get to work on fixing this mess. So regime stability increases by 10%. At 15 days to the mission, the wheel turns. The economy status improves significantly. Oh, we haven't checked that one. Inflation increases. What's the mission? Support agent operation. Can we get this one? We haven't gotten to all Farfischaftführer. Current Marshal, the wheel turns. The present is nothing but the egg from which the future shall hatch, no matter what it may be. Okay. We have 86.5, so let's hold a speech and go with token political promises, because we want to have the stability as high as possible. I have a feeling that that might play a role. And Nachrichtendienst. Someone asked me about Nachrichtendienst. There really isn't anything that we can do here. We could block political enemies and stuff, but okay, let's bribe them. That's 2.5%. We can do that. Actually, our stability is only 69%. Okay, I mean, let's get that. I thought that it was way higher. Why did it drop so much? Distribute propaganda. Is that Reichen crisis? Yep. Okay, anarchic economy is collapsing. Okay, 213 for us, 292 for enemies. Still, the expenses. Man, the game is having no chill. Yeah, the Islamic Republic is winning this. What a mess. Chatichai dissolves the Khana Ratsadon. After months of whispering and plotting in Bangkok, there remains just one man standing as the strongest authority in all of Taiwan. Chatichai Chunhavan. Despite many attempts from his own party to bring down the president in the last couple of months, none have been successful. Chatichai, now standing unopposed, has now gone so far as to dissolve the Khana Ratsadon and enact a new constitution. The dissolution of Taiwan's oldest party and the original group who overthrew the Thai monarchy over 3 decades ago has completely uprooted the political order of the country. With no one standing in his way now, Chatichai himself and his whims are now the sole determining factor in Taiwan's future. While some have expressed hope due to this new beginning for Taiwan, others fear that a new decades-long dictatorship might soon begin. What about ships? Yeah, we got 7 new ones. I have really not been paying much attention to our navies. Okay, you guys are done. You have 4 frigates, so let's get rid of those. I'm going to disband them and assign these 3 to you instead. And we need to send more. Hey, we got the stealth technology done. Isn't that lovely? Okay, this is a 1972 semi-modern stealth fighter. I mean, it's not like we can do something here. Anything that would help admin office construction speed, production efficiency, consumer goods, production is the GDP modifier, and resource gain. Let's go with resource extraction 5. What does that one say? New automated routines and computers make their entry in the mining industry, allowing greater precision to both machinery and working crews, dramatically increasing efficiency and yield. What's our fuel production? They gain 2.6 thousand. Okay. Listen to the words all written down. Decreases regime stability by 30. Okay, I don't think I have patience for that today. I'm gonna head to bed. We're gonna read this one next time because regime stability dropped by 30. Not something I want to play with. Yeah, okay, let's leave this one for the next time. Anyway, thank you very much for joining me. We are still amidst the insanity of the crisis. But hey, the good news is that we are actually getting there, and the German way and the Europe's way, yeah, it's gonna allow us to start killing the inflation and doing something. Not sure if the GDP is gonna increase, but hey, you know, as long as it works, as long as it works.